very good afternoon to all the participants, and I warmly welcome you to this interesting uh, panel discussion that is going to be around this particular aspect, because the overall idea of this particular session was to bring in the experience from the state level itself. And therefore, it is very pertinent that we understand little more of these challenges and how these challenges are being handled and tackled at the state level. So we have interesting set of panelists as already introduced by Akhilesh, and there were very interesting presentations bringing in different perspectives from different states with various local issues that are specific to each state, be it in terms of the location, be it in terms of the generation mix, or the load pattern that is there. So therefore, this brings a very interesting combination to the table. I will keep on asking some of the questions to the panelists, but I will also in between try to take some questions from the audience. However, I'll start with the question from my side first. So, my first question would be, you all have, made presentations, interesting observations have been there from each state. If you could simply summarize the journey so far in integrating renewables that have been added to your state so far, and your experiences with respect to those integrations that you have already added to the state. So maybe we'll start with Mr. Jewalikar ji.
I think while presenting, I have covered most of the aspects of journey so far, because if anything is to be added from the dispatch perspective, as I said, in recent times solar is increasing a lot. That is the common observation, and what I would like to add to whatever I was speaking was, one more important observation that we came across was with these all, when we initially studied all these solar generation pattern, we saw that there is absolutely no MVR injection from these sources, right? And the point was raised by all. The capabilities definitely will be there. Capabilities may be there, but the second point of concern was when I started digging into it and then started asking questions about it, who is programming these devices, who is making settings of these devices, how they are making their decisions. There is very less information that you are getting. After the CEA regulation and the mandate, the compliances and certificates are definitely coming. But the ability to change, even if it is embedded, the expertise to change it, part one. And part one, the missing link, as I see that, our ability to test these aspects on site. We are getting them, we are getting these certificates, maybe we are creating models. But as we are doing for all the other power system devices, the verification part for this is missing. So sometimes I feel if we all as dispatchers are used to a system with lot of inertia, our minds are also probably programmed for the time durations that these inertial devices have given to us. If that is going to be missing in the power system of tomorrow, maybe we need to think of something else from all these IBR devices. Maybe, I don't know, we are talking of grid farming, inverters and all that, may be a longer journey. But what I feel the dispatcher's interaction with the older sources has trained our minds to operate in a particular fashion. And now I find that with me or my teams the understanding of the IBR device, and there we are in a kind of a deadlock situation. It has to come from the sides of the manufacturer also, maybe somebody else also, ki what are the questions to be asked to them, how they will be behaving in future, and how we can derive supports from them. This is just in addition to, not exactly replying to your question, because the Maharashtra journey I have already talked about, so I am not repeating that.
Thank you, Jewalikar ji. One interesting point that you highlighted is that the mindset of grid operator needs to be actually changed, shifted from the conventional power plant dominant system operation to IBR dominated system operation. So we need to recognize different characteristics that these IBRs actually bring along, and understand and accept their characteristics, and see how best we can actually make use of the functionalities that these IBRs have. Thanks. Mr. Kanti, please.
Yes, we have started our journey for integration of solar in 2009, first solar park of the Charanka in the Gujarat, vision of our Honorable Prime Minister President Narendra Modi sahab. At that point of time, we have a very good installation of RE in terms of wind. So we have started to have a visibility of particular individual turbine level, individual pooling station level of wind farm. We have started that, I think, in the way back 2005-6. So we have all this data of all the pooling stations, wind turbine level, not turbine level, but wind pooling station, and meter data was available up to the turbine level. So we have some visibilities, we have an ideas where a particular station is located. So in that particular scenario, we have identified these districts, and based on that district, in case of the wind, we are talking about wind. So identifying the wind district where our highest generation of wind is there, and we have started in-house practices through the Excel model, where we are entering the BBC weather data and windy and all these sites available, 3 to 4 sites, and we see that what are the next step prediction, what is the 3 hours. Generally, we have received the 3 hours data, and based on that, we are predicting the wind, and which is far better than what REMC is supplying at present, and it is still going on. We are operating our system in that particular way. Number 2, we have very good we have very good approach with the particular commission. So we are giving the input them, because at particular that time, generally wind generation will be available in night hours. So tariff was decided in that way. During night hours, there is a incentives. There will be some discount will be available in tariff for industrial consumer. There is a HTP4 kind of tariff. So generally, particular industries, those who are required power during night, they are encouraged to have a load during night hours. Number 3, we have designed the agriculture demand pattern, which is we are bound to supply 8 hours only, continuous 8 hours. So we are rescheduling that particular 8 hours group even in a monthly basis. And we see that this is a summer, then we have to require during 9 hours more demand will be there. So we shift that demand into a little bit plus or minus up and down. Say, on that scenario, we have managed the system. So day by day, we are we can say set our mindset that this kind of thing we can absorb slowly. But when we have to change the entire scenario, that we have to move all the demand into daytime, it is a challenge. So at present, demand shifting is faster than what other actions, like we have a trial on a test basis. We have installed Statcom at 220 kilo over Somnath, particularly near Somnath, which is giving good result. Based on that, we have planned our system to have 13 numbers more Statcom in our system. But it is a planning, man. At present, we do not have any more than one Statcom in our state. So we are facing the tremendous voltage issues, because all these power and potentials are having winds and agriculture demand, which is inductive in that nature, and generation is of solar nature. So this is the one challenge. So visibility of data, forecasting insights, in-house forecasting, and tariff. These are the 2 things. And last tariff order, we have given input that there is no need of night time tariff rebate, because every demand will be available in daytime. So that particular incentive is withdrawn since last tariff order. So these are the having a good balance with the commission. So that way we are giving the input, and commission will generally endorse that item and take according to action. So this is the way. Thank you.
Taking cue from sir, I will just add one point. Even though we are talking of the intrastate experiences, one common issue I think all the states are facing is the behavior of RE generators in the interconnected region. And that affects the complete monitoring and the network behavior. So if we take case of Maharashtra, the Maharashtra load pattern completely changes on the days when there is lot of injection of RE power, or particularly wind power from Karnataka side. So the normal flows to which the system operator makes his decision, for that day the total scenario completely changes. So it is not just the intrastate, but the connected region and the kind of connectivities that we are having with the neighboring region, particularly RE dominant neighboring region, also plays an important part.
Interesting. Yes. So this is at the end of the day one synchronized grid. So that synchronization needs to be there from the DISCOM level to the SLDC level and RLDCs and at the NLDC level. So that's very important aspect. And looking at from the Gujarat perspective, two interesting observations that I made from what Mr. Kanti was mentioning. One is in-house development of the forecasting mechanism or the algorithm that they have, Excel tool that they have used, developed, which is very important and is actually, need of the hour to have in-house capability development within the grid operators. Second is at regular intervals revisiting these regulatory tariff related interventions. At one point in time, one tariff related intervention might be, right decision, but that with the change in the scenario of the generation mix and the percentage of RE penetration, that may no longer may be, a right decision at a later stage. So therefore, revisiting that and then course correction is very important. Moving to Rajasthan, an interesting state with highest penetration of renewables in the country. Already, Mr. Sudhir has shown several dimensions of RE integration at the state level. Over to you if you would like to summarize a few more points with respect to the state.
I remember the time when we only have 200 megawatt wind generation, and that time we faced the issue of the intermittency of the wind. Going 0 to 200 in just maybe in half an hour. So we faced that challenge at that time, and now we have developed around 8,000 plus RE into our intrastate grid. So a long journey we have made, and lot more is to be done.
Yes, absolutely. And Rajasthan has to play a very important role in terms of the level of installed capacity that is coming up in the state. Mr. Arshad, your UP side, if you would like to throw some light on the state side, please.
If you please allow me to have liberty speak in Hindi.
I think that should be absolutely fine.
Okay. So, उत्तर प्रदेश चूँकि 30,000 मेगावाट से ज़्यादा का मैक्सिमम डिमांड मीट करता है, उसमें जो अभी टोटल RE का कैपेसिटी है दैट इज़ अराउंड 3,000 मेगावाट. सो मच चैलेंजेस आर नॉट देयर स्टिल इन उत्तर प्रदेश, बट अभी चूँकि इंटरकनेक्टेड ग्रिड है, तो जो भी एडजॉइनिंग स्टेट्स में जो भी इश्यूज़ आते हैं उसकी हीट हम लोग भी फील करते हैं. और आगे डिस्कशंस में जो अगस्त में जो इंसिडेंट हुई, देन अगेन जो 7-8 दिसंबर को जो राजस्थान में इंसिडेंट हुआ, उसको हम लोग डिस्कस कर सकते हैं. अभी हमने एक चीज़ ये कर रखी है कि अभी RE का क्वांटम बहुत थोड़ा सा है, बट हमने अपना फर्स्ट टाइम चार्जिंग का बहुत ही स्ट्रिंजेंट नॉर्म बना रखे हैं, बगैर सारे चीज़ों को पूरा करते हुए हम किसी भी आरई जनरेटर को ग्रिड से कनेक्ट नहीं होने देते हैं, पहली चीज़। दूसरा, हमारा जो टेलीमेट्री डेटा की रिपोर्टिंग है आरई की, दैट इज़ मोर देन 95%, और वो रियल टाइम में हम लोग सभी का जो फोरकास्ट है नेक्स्ट 6 टाइम ब्लॉक्स का और एक्चुअल जनरेशन जो अपकमिंग है वो कंट्रोल रूम में मॉनिटर होता है। तो इतनी सारी मॉनिटरिंग के बाद और बहुत थोड़ा सा क्वांटम होने के बाद अभी इतना इशू यूपी में है नहीं, लेकिन जो एडजॉइनिंग स्टेट से जो इशू और स्पेशली जो ISTS कनेक्टेड बादला पे और इन सब जगहों पे है, उसके बहुत सारे इश्यूज आते हैं जो हम एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं। इवन 7-8 दिसंबर को बादला से 12 की और अनपारा की जो डिस्टेंस होगी और मोर देन 1000 किलोमीटर से, और आप सोच सकते हैं कि अनपारा के जनरेटर्स पे 80 मेगावाट के ऑसिलेशंस फील हो रहे थे। प्लॉट्स हैं, मैं आपको शेयर कर दूंगा जो है। इस लेवल का अगर इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है इतने ग्रिड में, तो ये हम सब के लिए बहुत ही चिंता का विषय है। दूसरा एक जो बहुत बड़ा इशू है, जो मैं परवाल साहब से भी डिस्कस सकता, सर से भी मेरा डिस्कशन हुआ था, कि रेगुलेशंस जो आ रहे हैं वो सब अब फ्रंट आ रहे हैं, जो लर्निंग है उससे कुछ भी रेगुलेशन में कुछ भी इम्प्रूवमेंट नहीं हो रहा है। मुझे जहाँ तक याद आ रहा है, वंस देयर वाज ए सोलर जनरेशन लॉस ऑफ मोर देन 7000 मेगावाट इन राजस्थान। अब हमारा जो अभी शेड्यूलिंग का मैकेनिज्म है, शेड्यूल्स आर गेटिंग रिवाइज फ्रॉम 7th-8th टाइम ब्लॉक, मीनिंग दैट वी हैव अलाउड द स्टेट टू ड्रॉ 7500 megawatt power which is not being injected actually into the grid. Now this is a condition of alert. Regulators should take up some steps so that in such cases when generation loss is say more than 3000 megawatt, 5000 megawatt, 10,000 megawatt, so schedule should be get revised on issue of constraints, on issue of emergency by the RLDCs, SLDCs from the next time block. Secondly, अभी जो यूपी में जो समर्स में जो पीक का रैंप अप है डिमांड का, दैट इज़ अराउंड 200 मेगावाट पर मिनट। यूपी में अभी जो प्लानिंग हो रही है बुंदेलखंड रीजन में, बहुत बड़ा एक पूरा का पूरा ट्रांसमिशन कॉरिडोर हो डेवलप किया जा रहा है, 765 kV का सिस्टम, जहाँ पे 20 to 25,000 मेगावाट का आरई जनरेशन अगले 3 सालों में आना है। अभी जब 200 मेगावाट का रैंप अप है समर्स में, और अभी सोलर का क्वांटम बहुत थोड़ा सा है, जब वो 20,000 का सोलर डाउन हो रहा होगा, उसका अपना पर मिनट का जो रैंप डाउन रेट होगा दैट इज़ 400-500 मेगावाट होगा। और सिमिलरली वो उस पीक को मीट करने के लिए क्या हमारे पास वो थर्मल कैपेसिटी ऑन बार है, ये सारे इश्यूज़। देन जब हम रिसोर्स एडिक्वेसी के पार्ट पे जाते हैं, तो रिसोर्सेज का तो हम अगले 10 सालों का, 15 सालों का, 5 सालों का, 1 साल का, और 1 साल का तो टाइम ब्लॉक वाइज हम लोग क्या क्या कैसे कैसे रिसोर्सेज होंगे वो हम लोग सब लोग देख लेते हैं। क्या हम लोग टाइम ब्लॉक वाइज डिमांड का भी असेसमेंट कर रहे हैं? और हम जब भी डिमांड का असेसमेंट करेंगे तो हमें ये देखना होगा कि जो भी डिमांड आ रही है वो नाइट आवर्स में कंट्रीब्यूट करेगी या डे आवर्स में कंट्रीब्यूट करेगी, दैट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। और जैसे ही हम इस इशू पे जाएंगे कि ये जो डिमांड आ रही है, उसके लिए मुझे जो इकोनॉमिक डेटा है कि अभी जो मेरा जीडीपी का ग्रो करेगा वो कमर्शियल की जीडीपी ग्रो करेगी, इंडस्ट्रियल की करेगी, एग्रीकल्चर की करेगी, किस सेक्टर की जीडीपी का ग्रोथ रेट क्या होगा, और उस इंडस्ट्रीज़ का अगर ग्रो कर रहा है तो नेचुरली वो लोड डे आवर्स में होगा। अगर डोमेस्टिक लोड ग्रो कर रहा है तो टिपिकली जो नॉर्थ इंडिया का लोड होता है वो सब का सब नाइट आवर्स में आएगा, व्हेन देयर विल बी नो सोलर। तो ये सारी चीज़ों को कहीं भी फोकस्ड वे में फैक्टर इन नहीं किया जा रहा है। सिर्फ ये कि रिसोर्सेज क्या होंगे, सीसी फैक्टर क्या होगा, कैसे हम ये इस तो देयर इज़ अ गैप। तो आई थिंक कि एनएलडीसी लेवल पे, एसएलडीसी लेवल पे रेगुलेटर्स को और लोड डिस्पैच सेंटर्स को ज़्यादा क्लोजली एसोसिएटेड रह करके प्लानिंग करनी है। अदरवाइज जो अगस्त में जो इंसिडेंट हुई थी कि जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द ट्रिपिंग ऑफ वन ट्रांसमिशन लाइन ये 16,500 मेगावाट का लोड लॉस हो गया। क्या हम लोग बिल्कुल वर्ज पे नहीं थे? अगर ये इंसिडेंट थोड़ा सा और मेजर होती तो हो सकता है कि ग्रिड कोलैप्स हो सकता था। उसके बाद भी उस इंटेंसिटी की फोकस मुझे तो कहीं ऐसा लग नहीं रहा है, पेपर्स पे ज़्यादा है। एक्चुअल में जब कंट्रोल रूम में बैठते हैं और जब एकदम से 600 मेगावाट की 2 जनरेटिंग यूनिट्स चली जाती हैं तो क्या हमारे पास कोई रिसोर्स है कि हम अगले 15 मिनट में उसको हैंडल कर लें? देयर इज़ नो। तो बहुत सारी चीज़ों को हम लोगों को देखना है। थैंक यू।
Thank you for bringing in some interesting aspects of the irrespective of how much penetration your state is going to have. Obviously, if it is the reasonably high penetration of renewables at the country level, national level, there are going to be potential impacts that would pass on to the other states. And need for adequate resource adequacy is another aspect. So, I would now open up questions from the audience, few questions if there are any. Those who are planning to ask questions, please mention your name and the organization you are coming from.
from गुजरात उत्पल। सर मेरा ये था कि जब हम रिन्यूएबल की प्लानिंग करते हैं और रिसोर्स एडिक्वेसी की प्लानिंग करते हैं तो हम एनडीसी के गोल या हमारा जो CAGR है, टारगेट है, उसको ध्यान में रखते हैं या टैरिफ को ध्यान में रखते हैं कि अभी सोलर 250 हो गया या तो ऐसा मैं व्यू जानना चाहता हूँ कि क्या हमें ये ग्रिड के पैरामीटर्स है, इनकी जो कंस्ट्रेंट है उनको भी ध्यान में लेके हमारा प्लानिंग करना चाहिए कि भाई अब सोलर तो हमें 6 to 7 मिल ही रहा है और अब सोलर काफ़ी हो गया, अब सोलर नहीं करेंगे, अब करेंगे रिन्यूएबल, जाएंगे हम, बट अब रिन्यूएबल के अदर सोर्स के लिए जाएंगे या विंड लेंगे या अदर सोर्स बायोमास लेके, बट फिलहाल जब तक ग्रिड हमें परमिट नहीं करता हम सोलर नहीं डालेंगे। या ऐसी स्टडी करें कि नॉन सोलर आवर्स में जो विंड अवेलेबल है उसका फ्लक्चुएशन इतना आ रहा है तो अब इससे ज़्यादा विंड कैपेसिटी हम ना डालें, अब यहाँ पे हम कुछ और डालें या बैटरी स्टोरेज के साथ डालें। तो जो प्लानिंग हम अभी तक हमने जो देखा है वो या तो GDP को ध्यान में रख के या NDC गोल को ध्यान में रख के या टैरिफ को कंसीडर करके करते हैं। तो क्या ये पैरामीटर को इंक्लूड करके हमें हमारी प्लानिंग को बढ़ाना चाहिए?
Thank you for your.
Right. The whole resource adequacy paradigm is talking about that. Because resource adequacy is part of, as per my understanding, it is part of the whole reliability का जो भी सिनेरियो है आपका, उसके अंदर adequacy को कैसे देखा जाना है ये बनता है। तो आपने जो कहा, the question can be simplified as what should be my resource mix at XYZ in the timeline for which I am contracting my power. That is exactly all resource adequacy studies. और मैं ऐसा समझता हूँ कि right now we are at a starting point of all the adequacy studies as far as states go and in India. Whatever regulations right now are in picture, they all talk of these things. If you read the guidelines that have been already issued for adequacy, there are different regulations put up by the state regulators, intra-state regulators also for ensuring resource adequacy. Simple thing is that as the RE goes on increasing, we will be trying to ensure our adequacy at from a time block level to a longer term horizon level. So that is what you are asking, and adequacy is exactly asking for that. Now, what should be the method and what are the ways adopted here and what are the ways adopted internationally? Those things will happen, but we are at the starting, my understanding is we are at the starting point of the adequacy field.
Anything from your side? Otherwise,
Yes, शशांक सर ने राइटली कहा है, आपकी बात सही है, हमें इन चीज़ों का ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा और हमने शुरू भी कर दिया है।
see, there are what you are mentioning is very high level policy level kind of intervention you are talking of. what you are indicating is there should be bottom-up approach. We should look at the grid, how much transmission is left there, how much margin is there, and then we should add accordingly. And we have enough solar. That is your perspective. We have now had enough solar. We should now focus on something else. But my perspective is totally different. We don't have enough solar as of now. We have a lot more to add to the system. What is the percentage of share of electricity that is coming from solar out of the total electricity that is being consumed? So these decisions are driven at the higher level from top down, through top down approach, which are, as I mentioned, climatic issues. So these are taken decisions at top level, and then how to execute, implement them is something left to the different stakeholders in the country. So if we wait for transmission margin to increase, then we have to just wait there itself. So once the decision is taken, we have to add this many renewables in the system, then different stakeholders are there, they see how we can actually achieve those targets, how we can take the different decisions, countermeasures, transmission capacity addition, generation capacity addition, and Mr. Jewalikar already rightly mentioned it, resource adequacy is actually one of those aspects that these different stakeholders are looking at in order to ensure that there is a adequate approach adopted for achieving those targets that are set at higher level. So I hope that answers this particular question. So moving on to the next quick question.
जस्ट प्लीज, अभी जो आरपीओ ऑब्लिगेशंस जो आ रहे हैं गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, और हर स्टेट में मेरे ख्याल से आरई का एब्जॉर्प्शन क्या हो सकता है, वो सारी स्टेट में एक्सरसाइजेज हो रही हैं. मुझे जो लगता है कि जैसे हम लोगों ने बहुत लॉन्ग हॉरिजन का तो हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं, लेकिन नेक्स्ट 5 ईयर्स में अभी जो भी आरपीओ ऑब्लिगेशंस हैं उनको फुलफ़िल करने के लिए अभी आरई का एब्जॉर्प्शन का कोई इशू आ नहीं रहा. देयर इज़ सफिशिएंट मार्जिन. और अगर लकीली जो सीए का जो ग्रिड स्टैंडर्ड है, अगर हम 55 से 40% पे चले जाते हैं तो एडिशनल बहुत बड़ा मार्जिन क्रिएट होगा आरई एब्जॉर्प्शन के लिए. तो बिल्कुल परेशान मत होइए. जो
Thank you very much. So my next question is, we'll take up in a while. My next question is, at Rajasthan level, you already mentioned compliance, RE compliance related, issues. At interstate level, we relatively have a, mature process of compliance, checking and implementation of the grid connectivity compliances. But of course, it is a general impression, and of course, in my opinion, is the fact that at state level, it is not, the compliance with the regulation is not, at the same level as it is at the interstate level. So how do you see, state tackling these issues?
Well, this is the major concern in Rajasthan. Actually, we are in fact pioneers. So we started early. So we have the generators who are still not complying. We are trying to, trying to pursue them to comply, and the new ones are compliant. So this is how the things are.
Right. As far as new interconnections go, they are mandated for that. They have to do it. So the FTC procedures is followed. State also has similar kind of FTC process for that. But as rightly pointed out, and I also indicated in my slide, the large number of generators which have been already installed since 2009, 2010, and there the issues are coming. We have issued notices to everyone saying that these are the things that you have to do. Then some modeling exercise also has been initiated by those people also. But some have also brought up these issues. What should we do when there is a mix of set? And we are also telling that there will be solutions for this. It is not like the solutions are absent for this. But then probably the questions from their side are, yes, if the solution comes at XYZ, so and so, then what about the costs? And that problem is basically because of very fragmented ownership of the individual generators. And maybe at some point of time, or if we could work out something, maybe we will approach regulators that this is the way it can be addressed or mandated. We have QCA-like agencies doing some particular kind of job, but I don't know when such investment issues come with this kind of fragmented ownership, what kind of structure we should have, because we will need solutions over there. And as you pointed out, there will be solutions. There will be solutions for that. Maybe we will need some regulatory intervention after some point. That is what I see into it now.
Thanks, Mr. Jewalikar ji, for pointing out these important aspects. Anything from your side?
हम लोग तो अभी जो भी आरी का या कोई भी सिस्टम अगर इंटरकनेक्ट हो रहा है तो उसका तो बहुत ही स्ट्रिक्ट है, और हम लोगों ने तो इस लेवल का कर रखा कि NRLDC से इस तरह से कोऑर्डिनेट कर रखा है कि कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट्स जो फर्स्ट टाइम चार्जिंग के आते हैं RLDC को अनऑफिशियली जो है शेयर कर देते हैं, और उनसे कहते हैं कि देखिए इसमें हम कुछ मिस तो नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो बिल्कुल इस लेवल पे जाकर के मॉनिटर कर रहे हैं. द ओनली इशू ये सर ने जो बताया था कि सारा सर्टिफिकेशन हो गया, सारा वो टेस्टिंग वगैरह का डॉक्यूमेंट सबमिट हो गया, OEM का सब कुछ, साइट पे टेस्टिंग की कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं है. उसके कारण से कभी ये करके कि जाके किसी टाइम पे हम ये तो करते रहते हैं कि कहीं पे अगर हमको लग रहा है कि बस वोल्टेज वहाँ पे कम है, रिएक्टिव सपोर्ट नहीं मिल रहा, और टेलीमेट्री डेटा स्पेशली जो ट्रांसमिशन सिस्टम से कनेक्टेड उसको अवेलेबल है, कॉल करके मेल करके उसको करते हैं और उसको कंप्लाई करते हैं. बट अगर आप लोग इसमें कहीं से कुछ भी कर सकते हो तो इसके लिए बहुत बड़ा सपोर्ट होगा कि साइट पे टेस्टिंग का कोई सिस्टम डेवलप हो जाए. वो अभी सारी स्टेट्स में बहुत बड़ा इशू है.
One more issue, particularly intrastate level, I see is कि whatever CA guidelines and all, they all talk about the POI level compliances. And once you enter into intrastate level, the older plants particularly, the connectivities are distributed at multiple voltage level, the 33 kV, 132 kV. And if you take the Maharashtra case, you don't have optical connectivity at all these locations. Now, when we talk of them complying at POI, and his POI is at end and where there is no communication arrangement in between, so that intervention also probably will be needed. Then now the question comes, should we wait for all the OPGWs to happen, or can some alternative communications also work maybe in these bands, the data exchange band, as we tried out and we decided that almost 5,500 kilometers of OPGW we are laying in Maharashtra, but the rest of the stations I cannot wait for that, so we will put VSATs at all the 1,000 locations, and we did that. So we will be finishing with that. So at least the data part we should handle, but can similar case also be done for these compliances part also? One part. Then second part, ki when they enter into these lower voltage levels, and there is lot of installations that are happening at 33K levels, which also are INSTS connected. They are also transmission connected and lot. So now the when I go for a wide area monitoring, because that also will be part of compliance, then having PMUs even at the smaller installation levels and handling those all that data. Maybe I was hearing about micro PMUs or something like that some time back. I couldn't get much insights on that, but that is yet not at the level expected.
Right. The visibility of these different assets, REs particularly, is very important, adequate visibility. I would like to open up for further questions. I think there was one question from that corner.
Sir, this side.
We'll take one question and after that we'll take yours.
Hello, my name is Rahul Agarwal. I work for a company called Nuance Systems. We are into battery energy storage systems. So I have basically, forward looking. I have people talking about grid forming inverters and battery storage as two of the solutions for this. What do you think is a practical timeline when we are looking at implementing those? Because these are some of the technologies which are available in the market. People have been using it. People in the commercial and industrial space have been using it. When are we looking at implementation of those projects on the utility scale?
Pitch in. So as far as these different technologies are concerned, let us say grid forming that you are mentioning, these are already relatively mature technologies available in the market, already implemented in some of the countries. Uh, Different countries have implemented. For example, there are implementations in Australia, implementation in UK. Regulations have specifically come in some countries for the grid forming converters, IBRs, because they are already getting into the grid. National Grid ESO UK has already come up with the specific grid code regulations for grid forming, IBRs, which includes battery, solar, wind, and others. Similarly, there is already at the drafting stage the regulations for grid forming converters at NCOE level. So this is something, in my opinion, which is already getting introduced, this new technology into the system, and I'm assuming that and expecting that we'll have introduction of this technology in Indian grid sometime soon as we move forward. This grid forming technology. I think storage. There is already a lot of discussions, a lot of implementations. At least we have several distribution level storage plants, BSS plants in India implemented in some of the states. And centralized storage is already being talked about. For example, in Leh Ladakh, one of the largest these storage plants are coming. And then there are other storage technologies, pumped hydro storage, new emerging technologies are there. That would be my response to your question. Anything else you would like to add?
No, I think perfectly right. Grid forming, sir, has already told. I don't have anything to add to it. Batteries already in place. There are tenders at multiple levels. And other than batteries, I would say all the storage solutions. There are a lot of pumped hydros being planned. That is also a very, very important thing. Pumped hydros, I'm saying in Maharashtra, the first big plant is expected by 2027, around 1,500 or 2,000. I just don't exactly remember the number. It is a new plant, and a lot more are planned. BESS, there already I think is an ongoing tender with Discom. So that is how it is.
Next question is over there.
Omkar, this side, I work with Energy Exemplar. So my question is actually a bit similar to that. And today in some of the presentations from SLDC, we saw that there is somewhere there is a lack of match. Either there is a forecasting issue of demand or maybe of renewables, and there is a demand supply imbalance, which is then resulting in deviations, frequency issues and so on. So now we talk about flexibility in the same context, and whenever we talk about renewable integration, we always have flexibility or maybe ancillary services as one of the concern. When these things, maybe in terms of demand response or energy storage, when these technologies are actually going to come into the market, as we just discussed, from SLDC's perspective, how complex or simple it is going to be, because now it's not only about dispatching the generation, but it's also about dispatching the load, because you have to charge the battery in a certain time and, or maybe schedule demand response in a certain duration. So how do you see, with introduction of these technologies, whether it is going to make things simple or maybe more complex?
It's going to definitely make it more interesting. So, because I see transition as a very interesting phenomena happening around me. I envy myself sometimes that just 1.5 years back I'm placed in SLDC and I can watch this system as a system observer and somebody is valuing my opinion on it. I don't know how greatly I'm doing that. But yeah, there will be challenges, no doubt about that. It will need new skill set, no doubt about that. Has it not been told that these new skills will be required? It is already there. So the question is, when we say we are transitioning into a new system, the people who will be passing through the transitions, they have to change because transition is happening. So as you rightly pointed out, maybe, and that is what I was referring to when I said it is not just the outage management scenario changing, it definitely will be the dispatch scenario changing. New tools will be required, new expertise will be required, a lot of modeling work will be, and that is what I think Suni sir was pointing out, RE is bringing in these things which dispatchers have never thought of doing. Probably they should have thought it 10 years before at state level, right? कि हम लोग क्यों जेल के साथ कुछ भी नहीं करते थे 10 साल या बेबी के साथ में हाँ? और हम लोग क्यों मतलब हमें इंटरमिटेंसी का और वेरिएबिलिटी का डर लगने के बाद ही हम क्यों सोच रहे हैं कि पहले की पावर सिस्टम बहुत सिंपल थी? क्या उसमें ये बिना आते भी कुछ करने का चांस नहीं था? शायद होगा, शायद हम लोगों ने वो भी मिस किया होगा या किसी ने और अच्छी तरीके से किया होगा. सो येस, इट विल बी डेफिनेटली अ डिफरेंट dispatch room, and I took the hint that Sunil sir was talking about the different kind of REMC thinking, because what we were thinking was, when we looked at the REMC setup, yes, the forecast error is one part of it, but the important thing was still the central dispatch decision making or the central control room decision making has not changed much, and probably that made us think that it is not going to change even in future, right? But if I say, can we look at the things like ki my system with 30% demand met by RE, my system with 50% demand met by RE, if we are to move, because when I say transition, we are transitioning where? And probably sir has given the right indicator, you are transitioning to a net zero world. If we are transitioning to a net zero world, at that end point, the transition will have to happen in multiple systems. And I think it in three verticals. One is the source side verticals, and we have discussed many issues into that. The nature of sources, the IBRs, and whatever the source side issues. Second vertical, I think, is of network side issues. There will be transmission adequacy, distribution adequacy, transmission planning, resource adequacy of transmission, and all other issues of network MVARs, network, many issues on. Third important aspect, I think, of the controls. And there comes multiple control mechanisms. They can be technical, they can be regulatory, they can be the mechanisms of dispatch, or they can be the things that you were pointing to. And all these things I take as a part of this journey of transition. So definitely it will be interesting.
I must say, पहले 200 मेगावाट को विंड को कंट्रोल करना मुश्किल होता था. वो चैलेंज हमने पूरा कर लिया है. तो अब नए चैलेंजेस हैं, वो भी पूरे होते जाएंगे. तो ये सब भी होएगा.
कि चैलेंजेस तो हमेशा से थे ग्रिड में. टाइम हॉरिजन के साथ साथ चैलेंजेस का जो सिनेरियो है, जो थॉट प्रोसेस है, वो पूरी चेंज हो जाती है. जब कुछ भी आरी नहीं था, तब भी ग्रिड ऑपरेटर्स को उतना ही इन्वॉल्व रहना पड़ता था. और कभी कभी तो मुझे लगता है कि जो नई टेक्नोलॉजीज़ और वो सपोर्ट सिस्टम आ रहा, आईटी आ रहा है, उस लेवल की शायद मॉनिटरिंग और इन्वॉल्वमेंट अभी नहीं है. आगे हो सकता है हो जाए. और ये तो पूरा एक सिस्टम आ रहा है, इवॉल्व हो रहा है. एक बहुत सिंपल सा आप सोचिए कि कैसे हैंडल होता होगा कि एक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कंपनी वो मार्केट से पावर परचेज कर रही है एक्सचेंज से. मार्केट का क्लियरिंग रेशियो 1:10 का है. उसको 1000 मेगावाट पावर की ज़रूरत है, वो मिल नहीं रही है, तो वो 5 टाइम्स की बिड लगा रहा है. उसको 200 मेगावाट मिल रही. सडनली मार्केट थोड़ा सा जो है ईज आउट होता है, और जो 5000 की बिड लगाया तो उसमें से 4000 मेगावाट उसका क्लियर हो गया. नाउ 3000 मेगावाट वो सरप्लस में है. वो हैंडल करेगा. उसमें ना तो आरई का कोई रोल है, ना किसी का कोई रोल है. तो ये सारी सिचुएशंस शायद आरई से भी ज़्यादा कभी कभी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड हो जाती हैं. तो ये चैलेंजेस आते रहेंगे, इसके सॉल्यूशंस निकलते रहेंगे. वी शुड नॉट वरी फॉर दैट. हमको बस कोशिश करते रहना उसके लिए.
Thank you for your comments. Next question, please.
Sir, I am Najda from TNEI Services. Since during the presentation we come to know that all of the stakeholders has to work in a coordinated manner to have a better RE integration in India. Regarding those aspects, then these tools used by all of these stakeholders has to be interoperable, isn't it? Like if you want to give instructions to a RE operator to have a set point variation in active or reactive power, then how they will be receiving that message. Like for example, if EMS of one SLDC is of one make and EMS of another SLDC is of another make, and how you exchange data between these EMRs and other systems. So in this regard, how is India planning to move forward regarding the model exchange perspective? Like common information model or CGMES in that aspects?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I think I'll try to answer this question. See, there is already communication happening between the grid operators and RE plants, even right now. Of course, there is a need for harmonization of these exchange of the information between different stakeholders in the power sector. That definitely is there, but that doesn't mean we are not able to communicate, have a communication, adequate communication between different stakeholders. There is not something I think we need to reinvent the wheel. There are already several initiatives and the developments that have taken up at different, other international levels, including Europe and US. So therefore, there is, on one hand, there is a need to improve it, harmonize this information exchange, be it data, be it models or others. But on the other hand, that communication is already happening. But I think with whatever we have in hand, we certainly need to, strengthen that further as we move forward in this space of communication dependent, assets and systems and cybersecurity and all that has been highlighted from the morning today. Thanks.
This question came when we were integrating all the SLDCs, RLDCs at national level. And with ICCP protocol, Intercontrol Center protocols, we have variety of vendors, and every SLDC is changing his vendor, but still at NLDC we have a full picture. So that's very well settled now. That's one part. The other part is the single source of truth. The All India model every month has to be updated. It's a big challenge. Even best of the grids struggle through this. But in India, we have a full system of model coming from the bottom and then getting stitched at the regional level, then at the national level. It goes down at the bottom, then again gets stitched. Every month, lines are getting added, but you will have always almost a current model. So these things are sorted out quite simply. Thank you.
Thank you. I think
one question from you.
In the interest.
Hello?
This should be the last question because we are running out of time.
Okay.
Please be very brief about your question.
Yeah, I am Vinod from Secure Meters Limited. So I have two questions. One is that
only one is allowed, please.
Okay. So we are talking about the supply side controls and flexibility, but can we think about the demand side flexibility, because we have seen in the presentation the building loads and the data centers are going to come up, and air conditioning load is one of the biggest growth that is going to come up. So can we make those loads responsive to frequency and voltages so that they're much easy to implement, though it will take a lot of installations and lot of loads to respond, but still it is easy and it can be made automatic to respond to the frequency and voltages. The question is, can we think about in that direction?
Any comment from your side, from demand response and demand side management?
Is it possible or not? So I would say technically it will be possible. Now we are moving in that direction. Demand side regulations for demand response are required. Calculations for how to get demand response, at what cost, at what time, all these things. Definitely, as I said while my presentation also, when we are building a lot of distributed generation, we will need definitely flexibility, a lot of flexibility from the demand. That is the demand response that we are expecting. How the models will evolve in each state, I cannot foresee that as of right now. But yes, the point is recognized, and I think almost at many of the states are already discussing. A Maharashtra pilot was done very long back inside Mumbai. The demand response pilot, very long back, maybe 15 years back or 10-15 years back, a pilot was done in Maharashtra. In some different fashions, we will be working that out again.
Thank you. There have been several pilots in the demand response in the country. So I think, technically speaking, this is pretty much possible. Of course, there are regulatory and other interventions that need to be actually brought into get it into implementation. Unfortunately, in the interest of time, I'll have to stop taking questions from the audience. I will just try to wind up with the final question, though I had a lined up questions for the panelists, but I thought it is better to open it up for the audience, and so I just let go of the other questions. So one concluding remarks I would like to have from all of you. What would be the key or critical recommendations or suggestions that, based on your experience of RE integration, that you would like to provide to policy, regulatory, and other stakeholders, RE, developers, OEMs, whoever you would want to actually address to key suggestions, recommendations?
पहले तो सबसे पहले ये करना होगा कि हमको ये मान लेना होगा कि आरी को आना है, उसको रुकना नहीं है, और वो जैसे ऑपरेशन में वो मस्ट रन है, वैसे प्लानिंग में भी वो मस्ट कम है. ये दोनों चीज़ें होंगी ही होंगी, इसको हम रोक नहीं सकते हैं. एज ए लोड डिस्पैच सेंटर हमारी जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़ हैं कि जिस वक्त हम उसको ग्रिड से कनेक्ट कर रहे हैं, रियल टाइम में जो उसे हम ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, उसमें कहीं भी कोई भी रिलैक्सेशन मस्ट रन के नाम पे होना नहीं चाहिए, अदरवाइज वी विल बी ट्रबल. दूसरे जो भी ऑब्जर्वेशंस हैं वो आप उसको नोट डाउन करिए और आप और किसी से शेयर करिए, चाहे ना करिए, RLDC से NLDC से शेयर करिए, और जो आपके रेगुलेटर्स हैं उनके क्लोज कोऑर्डिनेशन में जो भी नॉन कॉम्प्लायंसेस हो रहे हैं उनको मिनिमाइज करने की कोशिश करिए. अगर हम टेक्निकल पैरामीटर्स पे सारी चीज़ों को प्रॉपर्ली वॉच करेंगे, देयर विल बी नो इशू इन द ग्रिड. वी विल बी सक्सेसफुली fulfill the targets whatever have been given by the government.
Thank you. Mr. Sudhir.
I think dispatchers का काम बढ़ रहा है और बढ़ता रहेगा, और उनको नए टूल्स और नई स्किल सेट से अपने आप को लोड करना होगा. यही एक सॉल्यूशन है.
Thank you. Thank you.
2-3 things I see have to happen at state level. First thing is, if we are planning for a transition and if we look at the structural arrangements right now available at national level and at state level, there are some things that states can definitely do. There is no energy planning body. Energy departments are there, but there is no a body which is equivalent to like CEA, and I am pleading this nowadays a lot into state, that because when we are seeing adequacy plan of 10 years, 20 years, it doesn't remain into the domain of electrical engineers and power system engineers. It crosses domains. It moves into the domain of economics. It moves into many other domains. And the equivalent body is not in Maharashtra, I think probably not in any of the states. Now this lacuna I see as an opportunity for two of the existing bodies in the state, and those are STU and SLDC. These are the bodies who are in a way data holders of the electricity sector, and when moving into a net zero world, we are talking that almost more than 50% responsibility of net zero is going to come through electrification. Then it becomes that these two bodies, interested bodies, can play a different kind of role. So the STU has to have transmission planning and transmission adequacies, and SLDC and the state regulator, I think as whatever was being told, ki the things have to go from these bodies to the regulator. It has to be like that. And I would like to quote our joint experience when we did this pilot SCAD project, and then we have already suggested our regulators that we want to extend this study for further 1 year, and then come with conclusive remarks, and these will be the changes that we require into the state regulation. Because This project I also see as an important part of the control mechanisms that I was talking about. And I think so these three bodies have to work in unison, and the directive flow, traditional directive flow happening from the regulator side to these two bodies, there has to also be a reverse way that we see something into the transition happening and take it to the regulators.
Thank you, Mr. Jewalikar. Very interesting points around this particular aspect. I think we are now, running quite a bit out of the time. I would like to thank all the panelists and speakers for their valuable insights and the time. Mr. Kanti had to catch up flight, so he had to leave in between. So thank you very much for your time and for your very, very interesting information and the knowledge that you shared with the audience. Thank you so much.